In this video, I'll be sharing the ultimate guide to using Sendblue to get more responses from your leads via text message in 2026. You're gonna get a full step-by-step, click-by-click of getting set up effectively in Sendblue, from activating your phone lines, preparing your contact lists, building your iMessage automations and workflows, to launching your full campaign. Plus, I'll even be showing you some of the hottest new iMessage marketing trends that you'll be seeing this year that will blow up your campaigns with engagement and responses. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so to kick off this Sendblue tutorial, I think we have to talk about why this even matters. Why do I and so many other business owners out there truly believe that iMessage is going to be the biggest needle mover in 2026 for SMS campaigns? And to do that, I'm going to show you some data, because data is the only thing that doesn't lie. So we've been tracking conversations and texts and SMS campaigns for the past couple of years, over millions of texts sent, and we're always seeing the exact same trends. When you send iMessages and blue texts rather than sending green SMS texts, you always get better response rates. You can see it up on the graph right here. In blue at the top here, these are our iMessage response rates, 86%, 89%, 83%. And our bottom one in green here is our SMS response rate, 41%, 44%, 52%, 23%. We're always seeing a 2 to 3x lift on responses when you switch the color of your text. These are the same campaigns, the same text going out to the same people, but people just perceive those SMS texts as spam, whereas they perceive iMessages as a trusted text on their phone. And I just want to add a little something. The iPhone has a 58% market share in the US right now, meaning that at least 58% of your leads are texting in the blue iMessage world. So if your leads are texting blue and you're sending them green SMS texts, well, this is exactly what you could expect. These lower response rates, versus if you were to be texting them in the blue world as they are used to be texting, you'll be seeing these types of response rates. So to get iMessage set up for your business with Sendblue, the first thing that you'll want to do is head over to this specific website, which, just by the way, I've tagged in the comment section and in the description section of this video. And once you get here, we're just going to need to create an account. So you'll scroll down, it's going to ask for your phone number, it's going to ask for your name, and it's going to ask for your last name, and it's also going to ask you these additional questions that you need to provide. This is going to give context to the Sendblue team as to how they should create your account. It's going to ask, what type of CRM that you use. This is really, really important because it's going to customize your experience and what you have access to in terms of integrations in your Sendblue account. So make sure you answer this. And most importantly, you need to answer this specific questions, which is how many new opt-in leads do you get per day? This question will determine how many phone lines are assigned to you in your Sendblue account. So the way that iMessage and Sendblue works is they assign one phone line for every 50 new conversations that you like to have per day. So 50 new conversations means 50 new leads that you're going to be texting, or 50 new opted-in people that you'll be texting that same day. So what that means is if you get 20 new Facebook ads that give you their phone number and you want to text them right away, that is one phone line that you'll need in your Sendblue account. But if you have 75 new people coming in through your Facebook ads every single day and you want to text them, you'll need 2 Sendblue phone lines. So take the time to determine this exact number. Now, just keep in mind that once you've engaged in a conversation with a lead, so you sent your first ever text to that lead, they are no longer considered as a new lead. So you could text them unlimited for free now, in 2 weeks, in a month, in a year, whatever. So they don't count towards your daily limit. Your daily limit is only considered for freshly new opted-in people that just came into your funnel. Now, once you've gone through that form, you're actually going to be texted to your phone a demo of the actual Sendblue tool. This is the best way for you to actually see how the system works in action, and you'll be able to ask for your account to be created. So right now, I'm in a fresh new Sendblue account so that we could go through every single setting, feature, workflow that you could set up in your account as if you were starting from scratch. Once you get into your Sendblue account, the first thing that you want to be doing is heading over to your settings on the left-hand side and adding your team members to your account. So if you have have people in your business or in your team that need to have access to Sendblue for visibility purposes, to text leads, or for anything else, they will need an account. And so to do that, what you'll be doing is adding all of the team members. So team members could be people like sales reps in your team. They could be closers. They could be setters. They could be simply your leadership team. Anyone that needs to have access to conversation history and the ability to send text out via Sendblue should be added here. So once you've added their specific email, you'll notice that you have different roles that you could assign to these people. And I'll just give you a quick rundown of the 3 different roles that we have here. So your admin role is going to be the super user of Sendblue. They can manage, your team members. They can manage conversations. They can manage your integrations, your billing, your phone lines, and all of that. You then have access to a manager role. The manager role is going to be one in which the manager could view all conversations in the account. So no matter who they are assigned to, so the conversation, whether it's assigned to sales rep 1 or sales rep 2, they'll be able to see those and also reply to those texts if they wanted to. And your third role is going to be the user role. The person will only be able to see their own assigned conversation and reply to those conversations. So they'll need to be assigned to conversations to handle them and to text back and to reply and all of that. The second thing that you'll want to check before doing anything else in your account is under your usage panel right here. In your usage panel, this is where you'll be able to see the different phone lines that were assigned to your account. So based on the answer that you gave to that form of how many new opted-in leads will you be getting per day, Sendblue will assign you the different phone lines that you'll be needing in your account. So I could see right here that I have 2 phone lines that were assigned to me, which gives me access to 100 new conversations per day. So just make a verification here that you do have your assigned phone lines. And if you requested a specific area code for those phone numbers, you'll also be able to verify that right here. Now, the way that Sendblue was built, it is built around conversations and contacts. To have a conversation, you must first have a contact. And so that's what we're going to create on screen right here. So there's 2 different ways that you could create contacts in Sendblue. The first one is a manual contact creation, which we'll be using under your conversation tab on the left-hand side. You could click the plus button on the top right here and click on new conversation. All you need to start a conversation is a contact, and that contact needs a first name. So we'll add John Parker here with a phone number of that contact, and that's all you need to start texting within Sendblue. The second way that you could import contacts into Sendblue to start conversations with them is have them automatically create in Sendblue whenever they are created in whatever CRM that your business might be using right now. So if your business is using Go High Level, Close, Monday.com, Follow Up Boss, Close CRM, if they're using an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is, and wherever you collect right now your contacts, you could create a simple little integration like I have up on the screen here. Let's say with Zapier, you could even potentially do this natively if you're using Go High Level, where you're going to import the contacts into Sendblue automatically. So I'm just going to create a little automation here. I'm going to, consider that my CRM of choice that I'm using for my business is Close CRM. Once again, you could use anything. You could use HubSpot if that's where your contacts are created. You could use Salesforce if that's the case for you. And all you'll be doing is telling your integration that every time that you get a new lead in your CRM, that you want to send those to Sendblue. So what we'll do here is we'll create an action. We'll search for Sendblue. We'll select the action event, which in this case here is going to be to import a contact. We'll then have to, select the account that we want to import it to. And the next step is going to be to simply configure that contact. So like I said before, there's 3 things that you need: the person's first name, last name, and phone number. So in here, we'll be able to add the mapping towards the lead phone. We'll go through this process, select it from your CRM that we chose before. You'll be able to enter their first name and their last name and click on continue. If you have any other data that you want to flow from your CRM towards Sendblue, that's also possible. We'll just have to add some tags or some custom fields, I should say, later down the line. So now that we've seen how exactly contacts could be created in Sendblue, the next step is to be texting those contacts. And this is the tab through which you'll be able to have your conversations, which is called the conversation tab in Sendblue. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to pull up my lead's phone right here so that we could see lifetime examples of what this is going to look like on my lead's phone when I text them. The first way that you could text them is manually. We could send a text to our lead by just entering a simple little message right down here, sending that to our lead. And in just a couple of seconds here, you'll actually see the text message show up on our lead's phone. And most importantly, we're going to see it pull up as an iMessage, which is the whole concept behind what we're doing today, is sending out blue texts. What we could also do is we could take the lead's phone and we can text back. And what we'll notice is that all of these texts will flow right back into Sendblue so that you have full visibility of your conversations from one single inbox. Another thing that you could use is actually the pre-written templates that you could determine in your own account. So if you click this little button here, you'll notice that you could actually save different types of text and use them so that you're more efficient in your texting. So we could add new templates here, give them a title. Let's say it will be promotion. And then what you could do is you could type out your message and add custom variables so that you could easily reference them in the future. Now, because we're using iMessage, there are many more features that you get access to compared to what you're probably used to with texting in the green SMS world. So when you text via iMessage, you get access to things like voice messages. You get access to videos, sending high-res videos and voice messages, and high-res GIFs or memes or images. And these are all things that you could also send directly from your Sendblue inbox. So let's take a look at one of them. Let's actually send our lead a voice message here in live. Hey, what's up, John? I just want to see if you're going to receive this voice message from me. So yeah, just confirm. And we can send that off. So this might take just a couple of seconds to actually send out to our lead. We'll be monitoring it on our left-hand side here on our lead's phone. And I just want to tell you why this is so important. We were talking about marketing trends and SMS marketing trends at the beginning of this video. Voice messages and videos and GIFs and memes are going to be some of the hottest marketing SMS trends that we will be seeing in 2026. And the only way to do that is via iMessage. Our goal in 2026 as businesses who want to text our leads is going to be to show that we are real human beings sending out texts. If we sound robotic, we will be considered as a spam text, and our leads will know that it's a business texting them and not a real person texting them, and therefore mark it as spam, delete it, not read it. If we show signs that we are human, such as a voice message like we just sent right here that the lead just received, as you can see on the phone, and we can play this and this is going to play in real time, we show that we are human beings texting, and therefore our credibility is much more present. You know, our leads are going to think that we are real people reaching out, and so they will look at our text and they will respond to our text. So another thing that I do want to point out is as the lead listened to that voicemail, you'll actually get a notification inside of Sendblue saying that the voice message has been read or listened to. And this is so useful for any type of sales reps to know when your messages have been read. This is the best indicator to know that someone actually looked at your message, and this would be probably a really good time for that sales rep to jump in here and to get that lead to respond back if they didn't respond or if they're trying to ghost you. You know, this is your best indication that someone is on their phone right now. And so this is the time to say, John, please answer, because you know that they are on their phone right at this second. Their attention is there. You just have to catch it. So the other thing that we get access to when texting via Sendblue and via iMessage is to send attachments. And that could be anything from PDFs to images to video files, as you see up on the screen here. And it's important to note that these are all going to be high resolution attachments as compared to SMS, when you'd receive a text and it included video or an image and you couldn't even figure out what that person was sending you because it's so blurry. So I'll give you an example here. We could add a video that I pre-recorded. Once again, it's going to take a couple of seconds to load, but once I do send this over to my lead, you're going to notice that this is going to be a native video sent to that lead's phone because we're texting in the the iMessage world. So in the past, you might have seen, videos show up as links, which is something that just triggers spam and scam alerts, which is something we don't want, because in 2026, we want trust with our leads. We want to show them that we are real people texting and not businesses texting. So we'll let this video load. It's going to pop up on our lead's phone in just a couple of seconds from now, as you see right here. And you could clearly see that this is a native video that the lead could watch on their phone without having to go to any other link. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm about to share with you what I consider being the coolest and best SMS marketing trend that you should hop onto as soon as possible before it becomes saturated. And that is going to be text message effects in iMessage. And we're going to see this right now on screen. So let's just imagine that I'm an e-commerce brand and I'm trying to sell a pair of Ray-Bans. And I want my message and my promotion to stand out. What I'm going to do in my campaign is I'm going to add an image of those Ray-Bans, as you would see it being a standard with SMS campaigns. So I'm going to add an image. And with that image, I'm not just going to send an image, I'm going to send a text message effect. And text message effects could be pretty much anything. It could be anything that you have on your iPhone right now, confettis, fireworks. I'm going to add this with confettis and send this out. And what you're going to see here is that our lead's phone is going to pop up with confettis on their screen. So that promotion, that image is going to show, as you see right here, with these awesome text effects. And just think of this from your lead's perspective. If they're receiving a text that has an image, that has text, and you add an effect on it, just imagine they're feeling their dopamine hit when they receive your text versus all of the other business texts that they're receiving that look spammy, that have the opt-out language on them, and that have links that they're clearly not going to click on to open that promotion up. The other things you also have access to, just as any other texting solution, you have the ability to schedule out messages if you want to in the future. And you also have the ability to add notes to your conversations. So, you could add notes to just give context to that conversations. These are things that your leads will not see. These are only for internal use. So if you want to leave a note for another team member, if you want to leave a note for yourself, for your manager, this is possible to do right here in the conversation tab. Now, texting is one thing inside of Sendblue, but what's most important is to take your leads and take your conversations and move them in your pipeline to get them to buy, to get them to show up, or to get them to close. And so the way that Sendblue was designed is as a CRM too. So you have all of these CRM capabilities and features that we're going to explore right here. So the first one is really just the lead profile or the contact profile. You could see their name, you could add their email here. You could also assign this specific lead to a specific team member in your Sendblue account. So this could be done manually. You could decide who the assignee is, or it could be done through automations, which we'll see a little later, where you're going to be able to assign specific conversations to specific people or specific contacts to specific people. You'll also have here the Sendblue number. So this is the phone line from which you're having that conversation with this lead on right now. It is possible to change this if ever you wanted to. You also have tags. So these are going to be very, very important if you want to tag your conversations, if you want to tag a specific moment, if you want this to be your pipeline. You could say, okay, the lead responded, the lead engaged, the lead booked a demo. These could all be managed via tags right here. So let's say we added one and we'll call it demo booked created. The other thing that you could add is custom variables. So before, what we saw when we created this little integration here, which imports contacts to our Sendblue account, we saw that if we wanted to, our CRM comes with tons of information. It comes with the business, the email, maybe even their website. And these are all things that you could create custom variables for in your settings. So if ever you did want to create a custom variable, some information that you wanted to have on the contact and on the conversation panel, you could head over to your settings here on the left-hand side, go into custom variables and add all of your variables here. It could be text, number, date and time, or Booleans. Same thing for conversation tags. If ever you wanted to do these in bulk, you'd be able to do them in your settings panel and add new tags here that could be used across the entire entire account. The other CRM functions that you do have access to within Sendblue is the ability to toggle through conversations that your users have. So you could check out the conversations that each one of your sales reps is having. You could filter that easily through this little button right here. We could also filter the conversations by the different tags that we have right up on the top here. We could use the search function. So this could be a search for the people's name, so the contact name. And we could also add these conversations into different filters. So if you wanted to complete a conversation, potentially you would mark it as complete because it's a deal one or a closed one. So you'd put that into the completed section. To do that, you would simply use this little button on the top right here to mark it as a completed conversation, and that will be going into your completed section. Same thing here, you had different options where you could undo the completed action, go back to your active conversations. You could pin a conversation to your top of your feed if ever it's a high priority lead. So we could do this right here by clicking that button. You could then filter for all of your pinned conversations. And what you could also do is you could filter for all of your unresponded conversations. So if you wanted to only look at the conversations that you haven't read yet, that have a message pending for you, well, you'll have this unresponded tab right here. And finally, you also have this option to delete a conversation if you wanted to remove it completely from your Sendblue account, or even potentially block the lead completely. This would mean that not you or any of the users within your account, nor the lead itself can text you. It is simply going to be marked as blocked. It won't even be possible to receive those messages from the lead, nor send those leads messages. So what we just saw is how you could be using Sendblue as your mini CRM. You could be using it to manage your conversations. You could be using it to manage your leads, but we do totally understand that you probably are already using a CRM and your goal is just to add Sendblue to your tech stack inside of your CRM so that you could manage everything in one centralized location. And so that's why Sendblue is totally integrated with any CRM. I'll be showing you how in just a second here. So whether you're using, Salesforce, HubSpot, Close CRM, Go High Level, Follow Up Bus, Monday.com, Sendblue integrates directly into those CRMs so that you could text with your iMessage line, but keep your conversation history and your contact and your lead information all in one place. So let's just take a look at a couple of these CRMs and how they're integrated. So in every CRM, we'll be looking at Close CRM, we'll be looking at Go High Level and at HubSpot. Whenever you look at a lead profile, you'll always have access to these two little widgets here that you could open. So whenever you have a lead in your CRM, you'll be able to click this widget, which is going to open up the Sendblue iMessage widget from which you'll be able to text your leads. So the same thing that we just saw before, where you could send voice messages, you can send things like videos, you could send things like plain text, you'll be able to do directly in your CRM. And the other really nice thing to note is that in every CRM, you'll be able to keep that conversation history logged in your CRM. So this is Close CRM that you see right here. We could also look at it on Go High Level. So Go High Level, on every contact, you'll have access to these two widgets, the calling widget and the phone widget, or the iPhone widget, I should say. So you could pop that open, you could see the conversation history, and you could also keep that conversation history directly in Go High Level if you wanted to, as you could see right here. Same thing for HubSpot. So HubSpot is going to have the same concept. You're going to have the two widgets under every single contact or lead or prospect that you have. You could click them open, see your iPhone widget right here. You could text through this, or what you could also notice is that everything is going to be logged right back into the lead's profile. In this case right here, the contact profile. Let's now cover some of the calling that you could do within Sendblue. So when you are assigned a Sendblue phone line, you don't just get access to unlimited texting with your leads. You also get access to phone calling with your leads, which is also unlimited. So because we're in the iMessage world, once again, which isn't regulated the same way as your SMS world or your A2P Twilio world with the carriers and T-Mobile and AT&T, well, you get access to unlimited time on your calls with your Sendblue line. And to access that phone line and to call, you could use one of these two buttons here. So the first one is just this phone calling button. This is going to initiate a call directly from Sendblue, which is going to pop up on your lead's phone like this. Now, if I answer to that call, it might have some interference for a little second there. But what you'll also notice is, you have the ability to mark that you picked up or that the lead picked up. And you'll also get a transcript of that call pop up in Sendblue once it's processed. Now here, you can see it was a small little transcript, but you'll have that to keep visibility in one shared inbox, which is your Sendblue inbox. Also, just recently added to Sendblue, one of the biggest features that is going to be used in 2026 is this ability to call via FaceTime audio. So some of you might be aware, iOS came out with this new screening feature available on all iPhones that for calling, if you're trying to call a lead, they could have this screening activated on their phone, which is going to ask you to explain who you are, give a little description of why you're calling that person. And that's just going to make it very, very difficult for you to get through to your lead on a phone call. That's why Sendblue came out with this brand new FaceTime audio feature that you could use inside of your Sendblue account, which is going to initiate your phone calls from FaceTime audio rather than initiating them from your carrier phone number. So what this is going to do, it's going to completely bypass the iOS screening call here because it's going to be placed as a FaceTime audio. So just like when you receive a FaceTime on your phone, there's no spam likely. You don't get that screening tool. All you see is the FaceTime. And so you're going to see that happening with FaceTime audio if you use this feature here. All right, so up to this point, what we've covered is manual texting. You know, how can you go into Sendblue and send follow-ups to your leads? How could you text them manually through this shared inbox? But where Sendblue is the most powerful is when it's combined with automation and workflows. How do we text our leads automatically as they opt in to a funnel? How do we text them automatically to show up to an appointment or to remind them about an appointment or to remind them about an upcoming webinar? And this is now all possible to do via the workflow tab on your left-hand side of Sendblue. So all of your automations and workflows can now be created directly in Sendblue using the workflow builder. You'll see that you have the ability to create workflows from scratch or be using a template. We could just take a look at these templates quickly, pre-built based off of data and based off of performance of SMS campaigns for appointment reminders, opt-in nurturing and templates, abandoned cart recoveries, webinar reminders, appointment cancellations. We've built all of these for you based off of the best practices and based off the best engagement from campaigns that we've seen in the past. So if you're doing one of these, I would highly suggest that you select one of these pre-built ones because they're gonna basically guarantee that if you follow them, you're gonna be getting those numbers that we saw before of 70, 75, 80, 85% response rate when you're texting via iMessage and using these specific templates. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create a workflow from scratch. So I want you to imagine that we're going to be building out a workflow and an automation for when leads just freshly opted into our funnel. So let's imagine that they watched an ad on Facebook, they gave us their phone number, and we want to text them right away so that we catch them at their highest peak of interest and get a conversation going as fast as possible. So the first thing that we're going to do here is add a trigger to our workflow. You're going to notice that we have 3 different types of triggers, you know, contact created within Sendblue. So whenever we add a contact and a conversation to Sendblue, it's going to trigger off this automation. We have CRM enrolled here. So if ever a contact is created in your CRM, like Go High Level, HubSpot, Follow Up Boss, Monday.com, any CRM, basically, you'll be able to trigger it to create a conversation via a workflow in Sendblue automatically, kind of like we did in the Zapier, but now you could do this natively in Sendblue. And the third one is contact tag assigned. So we saw before that we could tag conversations and contacts. Maybe you want to add a tag that says demo booked, and therefore it would trigger a series of follow-ups after that demo was booked to that lead. For this example, though, we're going to create one with the contact created card, and we are going to click on our actions. When we click on our actions, you'll notice that we have so many options. We have the ability to message, to create group iMessages. So this is super, super relevant if you have a setter and a closer and you want to introduce the setter and the closer to that lead in one group chat to keep, the trust of who you're introducing in one conversation thread. So you have that. You have timing steps. You could wait for specific moments. You could send out texts at specific times. You could wait for a reply from the lead before triggering a next step, and so many more, as you can see right here. But for our example, we're going to send an iMessage as the lead is created in Sendblue. So to create our first first message, we need to follow best practices of iMessage. And I talk about this in one of the videos that I'll tag right here up on screen so that you could listen to a video that's fully around the best practices of typing out messages that resonate with the iMessage framework, because it is totally different from writing text in the SMS world, which, you're limited by characters, you're limited by the opt-out line, and you're limited by so many different filters of keywords that you can't use because your carrier doesn't like them and whatnot. So for iMessage, just check out that video if you want to see how to type out good best practice iMessage messages for your campaigns. I'm just going to write one right here. It's going to be, hey, and we're going to select the contact first name, and we're going to say, this is Tristan from Sendblue. What we're then going to do is add a second message. So this is one of the best practices to use in iMessage, is to not just send one big block of text. We could send unlimited text. So why limit ourselves to this one big block that your lead receives and they scream at it, because it's frustrating to have half of your cell phone with a text on it. But what we're going to be doing here is sending, something that's much more friendly, much more resonating with how the lead normally texts with their friends, sending 1, 2, 3 texts sometimes. So we're going to say this, delay this by 5 seconds, because we want our lead to know that we're a human texting. If we send a text back to back, 1 second after the other, they know it's an automation. But if we delay this by 5 seconds, our lead will perceive this as potentially being a real person reaching out, especially because it's iMessage. And then in our message number 2 here, we're going to write something like, I can send you a demo video here. Yeah. And that's going to be my first text messages that are sent out. Notice under 1 to 2 lines, they're always under about 80 characters. And the second message that I wrote, which I talk about in that video that we tagged on the screen, we're always asking a low friction closed-ended question to our lead because we want a reply. In 2026, our goal is to start conversations, and to start a conversation, you need a reply. If your lead is not responding to you, there's no point of then being in Sendblue, because our goal is not just to inform and broadcast like SMS does. Our goal is to start conversations, get replies, engage with our lead to then get them to the next step of our pipeline, whether that's closing, whether that's offering something, booking a call, whatever. Now that we're done scripting that message, we're going to click on done. And our goal here is to automate this portion of the conversation as much as possible. So you notice that I added a very predictable response here. I could send you a video here. Yeah. Most likely our lead is going to respond, yeah, sure. And so therefore we could continue our automation. And what we're going to add here is a step to potentially wait for our reply. We want our lead to reply to us before moving the automation forward. So we'll be searching for the wait for a reply step. It's under the timing section right here, wait for a reply. And you'll see we have 2 branches now, one where the lead responds and one where the lead doesn't respond. So I won't be programming all of the scenarios where the lead doesn't respond, but just keep in mind, you could nudge your lead, you could bump them, you could send them a meme potentially, or a GIF that's funny so that they respond to you if they haven't. But what we're going to be doing here is sending them the video or the demo video that we talked about earlier before. And so you could also notice that within your actions, within your messaging actions, you don't just have access to sending plain text. You could also send media like we did before when we looked at the conversation section and texting manually. So what we could do here is we could upload a video that we pre-recorded. So I'm going to be doing that. You also can notice that we have a fallback for SMS or Android users. So if ever you're texting a lead who has an iPhone, it's first going to try and send this iMessage, but you could have a different type of video for your SMS and Android users, and our system is going to recognize that automatically. And the other thing that we could also do is we could include a second step where we're not just sending them a video, we also want to send them a voice message. So I'm just trying to show you as many things as possible throughout this example. With the Sendblue demo that you receive when you opt into our funnel, we like to send you everything. We introduce ourselves via a video, we introduce ourselves via a voice message, iMessage. And so you can see here, I could add a second step, which is going to send an iMessage, and we could select a voice message here that I pre-recorded, and we could upload that pre-recorded voice message and send that automatically to our leads. And once again, this is all in the goal of showing that we are real people behind these texts. Yes, this is a workflow. This is an automation. This isn't actually me reaching out, but to our lead who receives that on their iPhone as an iMessage, as a native video and a native voice message, they don't think that. They think that a real person is reaching out, is taking the time from their day to text you manually via their own iPhone. And that's the impression that we want to give by creating these types of workflows in Sendblue. And so let's just test this out. I'm going to click on done here. I'm going to save my workflow. I'm going to name it opt-in, and I'm going to publish it to my Sendblue account, and we'll pop open our lead's phone right here, and we just have to create our lead or create our contact. I'm just going to recreate our famous John Parker here, add their phone number, and in just a couple of seconds, if I go back to my conversation panel, our automation will trigger. So as you can see right here, our automation sent out that first text message. You could also see that it was triggered by a workflow directly in your account. You also noticed probably on the phone that we got it as a blue text. You also saw there was some typing indicators, which once again is just trying to show that there's a real human trying to send out these texts, even though we know that this was automated. So when I do respond to this text, our automation was programmed to wait for a reply. You programmed it to wait for 24 hours. In this example, I'm going to respond right away. And this may take a little bit of time, but as you can see right here, our video was first sent out. Once again, we get these typing indicators, which just makes it seem so much more human and a natural behavior that someone's texting them right now. And the video is going to be sent as a native video to the person's phone, along with the voice message that we also programmed. So there you go. You can now see the video has been sent over. And in just a couple of seconds, we'll also be seeing the voice message being sent, as you can see here on the Sendblue screen. Once again, the typing indicators are there on our person's phone or on our lead's phone, and they'll be receiving that message as a native voice message, just like you could see right here. So that brings us right back to our reporting. This is what it all comes down to, being able to see the difference it makes on your SMS marketing campaigns when you start sending blue texts that look trustworthy rather than sending out green texts that look spammy. So in Sendblue, you'll have your reporting tab right on the left side here in your analytics, and you'll have a very good breakdown of your conversation history and the performance of those texts. You'll be able to see your overall response rate. You'll be able to filter that for the week, for the month, for the year. What you'll also have access to is the ability to filter only iMessage and only SMS. So we could take a look here, 64.9 response rate across SMS and iMessage, but look at iMessage only, 81%, and look at SMS only, 38%. So the reason that our response rate is at 64 is in majority because no one on our Android phones or no one that we're sending SMSs to is responding. The other thing that you could check out is actually isolating each single team member in your Sendblue account to see what is their response rate. How much is this sales rep getting in terms of responses when they're texting versus this sales rep? And then take what that sales rep with the higher response rate is doing, their follow-ups, their videos, their voice messages, their memes, their GIFs, and then push that to your entire team. So we gives you access to see, the reporting isolated to each and single user that you have in your account. And also, if you scroll a little down here, you'll be able to see tons of different statistics when it comes to your conversation performance. You'll see, how many contacts we're talking about for these stats here, how many phone calls were placed, how many connected calls did you get, what amount of time does it take for your leads to respond to you on average, and so much more data down here. And so there you have it. That's the ultimate tutorial of Sendblue and how to use Sendblue to have the best performing iMessage marketing campaigns in 2026. 2026, you probably understood throughout this video that iMessage is a completely different beast than SMS. The way you type your messages, the way you format your messages, the way you're coming across through your messages is different than when you're sending those spammy, boring green SMS texts. And that's pretty much all I talk about on this channel here. So if you want to check out more videos about iMessage, about workflows, about funnels, about the difference between both and how to incorporate them in your business, because iMessage and SMS can both be included simultaneously in your business, but for completely different use cases. You know, iMessage for conversations, SMS for broadcasting, and I talk about that on this YouTube channel. So feel free to hit the subscribe button at the bottom of this video. Also, just check out some of these videos that I'm going to put up on the screen here that I think will be a very good continuation of what we just saw today with this ultimate tutorial of Sendblue and iMessage in 2026. Thank you for watching.